Hello, crypto fans, and we got your dose of nightly crypto news. First of all, VeChain has secured a groundbreaking patent in the United States. Now, my thoughts on these patents. I don't know if any of them actually been tested legally, like if someone else has actually used the technology and then they got sued and then the patent holder won, because a lot of these patents, whether it's Ripple or VeChain or someone else who filed them, they seem to me a lot like some common sense things, and I'm not really sure if they would actually hold up. But for now, they've got a patent, and that at least gives them some legal grounds to protect their technology that they made. So VeChain secures a groundbreaking US patent for blockchain transaction processing, and they're calling it a major milestone. Obviously, doesn't have too much effect on the VeChain price. Might have given it a little bit of a pump yesterday, but that's about it. VeChain is still at around 2.16 cents. It's moved up with the rest of the market, but it has not. Once again, VeChain has not actually moved past the rest of the market. Still around 33 number in market cap in terms of position. Taken with the stablecoins, it's top 30, but still not much more after that. So VeChain secured a patent in the US that focuses on its potential as a transaction processing protocol. The patent was approved October 24th, and it uses VeChain's ability to process multiple transactions at one time. So parallel transaction processing, pretty cool, which can help drive commercial adoption. VeChain aims to be a leader in supply chain efficiency and sustainability, and the patent will allow VeChain to further expand into the US market in a regulated manner, significant as the US accounts for roughly around 25% of global economic activity. Very good. Very good. So obviously, like, they're allowed to operate in the United States. Their liquidity approval from Coinbase is pretty cool, but they also have to wait until the Coinbase case kind of resolves, because they need to know for sure that they're not a security on the secondary market. And of course, getting regulatory approval in the US has been very challenging for blockchain companies. And of course, getting this patent, people are saying, is a positive step in that direction. And it kind of is a positive step in that direction, but getting the patent is not the same thing as getting regulatory clarity, which I think is significantly harder to get. This patent could increase the adoption of VeChain by US-based decentralized finance protocol and exchanges. Hopefully. But once again, VeChain needs on-ramps. It needs USDT or USDC to on-ramp onto VeChain. And with that, it would give it a lot of liquidity. I think there's a lot of things building into it. I think this patent is really good news. But at the same time, it's not exactly regulatory clarity. It's moving in that direction, but it's not really regulatory clarity. And you still need the liquidity that actually comes in from USDT or USDC. So obviously, like, they're saying it affected VeChain's price, but that obviously is more likely due to Bitcoin's price increase in the last few weeks. It's a big milestone for VeChain, but once again, they're just kind of like projecting that this is what's causing the price increase, but I don't think that's mainly what's causing the price increase. I think that one day where VeChain went up 5 or 6%, it was like probably 60% due to Bitcoin and maybe like 40% due to this, but still a pretty good development, regardless if you're a VeChain fan. And of course, they're talking about VeChain's partnerships, but hopefully the US regulatory environment is actually going to loosen up sooner rather than later. So that's the news for VeChain. There is some major Bitcoin adoption news coming from El Salvador, right? And there's a supplier of over 40,000 merchants in El Salvador now accepts Bitcoin. Now, the thing is, they accept Bitcoin, but will they actually keep Bitcoin? Probably not. And will people actually pay in Bitcoin? But remember that El Salvador is one of the few countries, if not the only country right now, that recognizes Bitcoin as legal tender. So there actually might be more people using Bitcoin now that these merchants are able to pay in Bitcoin. And maybe Bitcoin can try to come up with an economy in El Salvador now, because this big supplier of merchants actually accepts Bitcoin. So Bitcoin Wallet and API platform Blink, formerly known as Bitcoin Beach Wallet, has announced a new partnership with, this is called Distribuida Mozarin, and it's the second largest distributor of consumer goods in El Salvador. So it's a collaboration, and that does pave the way for some liquidity use in Bitcoin, which is very, very good for merchants. So it's a pilot program that allows the distributor to accept Bitcoin in the form of a select segment of its extensive customer base. So it's only a part of its customer base, not all of it. And of course, it provides supplies to over 40,000 merchants. And it's actively encouraging and supporting these merchants in integrating Bitcoin as a payment option for their retail locations. Now, somehow I do actually think that this particular thing is like kind of like all the other stuff for Bitcoin adoption, that literally what happens here, is that they, I would say like, they accept Bitcoin, it goes through some kind of an exchange, and then they sell the Bitcoin for cash, and they actually take the cash. With Bitcoin's volatility or any crypto's volatility, I wouldn't expect them to actually hold any Bitcoin. Although I am hopefully wrong about that. So he says our distribution operation until today has been predominantly managed in cash, and this presents a series of logistical time and operational difficulties that slow our day-to-day ability to visit more points of sale. Bitcoin solves that. Now, obviously, the El Salvadorian dollar is no good, but they do use the US dollar for the most part. Maybe they just trade Bitcoin for a US dollar. Although in El Salvador, that might actually be hard to find. So they might actually be forced to keep the Bitcoin, which would be really, really risky for the business. But at the present moment, they may not actually have another choice. So the vast majority of our customers do not have access to banking services, and this is the perfect way to introduce them to their first financial tool. So this actually might be pushing Bitcoin adoption more than any of this card adoption thing in the United States, because they might actually have to hold some of the Bitcoin. And of course, they actually have partnered with Blink and all these things, so they might actually be able to convert it into like another currency that's more stable. I'm not really sure like how this Bitcoin is going to be processed, but I do hope that they end up actually keeping some of this Bitcoin in their reserves as well, because I think that will help them a lot in the future, although it does pose a lot of potential risk in terms of Bitcoin volatility, like we all know. And of course, this is probably going to be processed through Lightning. I can't really see this being processed through Bitcoin's base network, because that would just be kind of disastrous in terms of Bitcoin adoption. Everything would get jammed up, and that's not what we want from new Bitcoin adopters. We want them to see how well crypto works, not how slow crypto can actually be. And of course, there's a new crypto sheriff in town, and it's not the SEC now, it's the CFTC, and they've been a lot more successful in bringing lawsuits against crypto players. Now, the thing is, there's a reason though, because they actually don't bring up BS lawsuits, and they actually sue people that deserve to be sued. So if you didn't know, the CFTC has brought up 47 actions in just 2023 related to digital asset commodities, and this represents more than 49% of all actions and resulted in over $4.3 billion in penalties, resolution, and disgorgement. So the CFTC has been a busy boy suing crypto companies, but I think we can live with what the CFTC is doing, because of the biggest actions in the space, the CFTC charged FTX, Sam Bankman-Fried, and his failed trading firm Almeida Research. I think we can all clap our hands for that. And they have alleged and charged Binance and its CEO. I don't know if those charges are actually going to go through, but they also have a charge against bankrupt crypto lender and its former CEO, Alex Mashinsky. So I agree with 2 out of the 3, which is obviously Alex Mashinsky and Sam Bankman-Fried. Don't really agree with their charges against Binance, but you know what? That's a lot better accuracy than the SEC, which I basically agree with almost 0% of their lawsuits. And of course, Gary Gensler has been put through the basically strainer when it comes to Congress, and he doesn't have too many friends in Congress. And it looks like Congress does want to hand crypto over to the CFTC rather than the SEC. So obviously, Gensler's been called on to testify before Congress. And of course, guys like Patrick Mahenry are blasting him for his loyalty to big banks, as they are no fan of Gary Gensler's. So your effort, McHenry said during the call, your efforts to choke off the digital asset ecosystem is clear to all. And he accused Gensler of more confusion and lasting damage, which Gensler has been guilty of course. And of course, he blasted the agency for its losing streak in the courts, and they're probably going to lose more to the courts. I think Congress is going to focus a lot on his losing streak, and I think Gensler might actually be getting a little bit worried. So the thing is, hopefully the CFTC is going to be better than the SEC. There's no promise on that, but I do think they will be a bit more lax, and I don't think they'll sue random crypto projects all that much. And remember, any victories at the SEC against the SEC in courts does not apply to the CFTC, because they're different agencies, unless you want to establish like an agency that directly oversees crypto assets. If they're not securities, they're going to be commodities. So hopefully the CFTC will actually be a lot more friendly, and we won't have a policeman as bad as Gary Gensler. So that's the news for today. Let me know what you think. Like and subscribe, hit that bell notifications button. Thank you and have a nice day.